Richard Sherman gets released by the Seahawks on Friday. Don't feel too bad for him because he quickly came to a deal with the 49ers, a rival, the very next day. The team officially announced that he signed the deal just last night. Believe it or not, he should have met with more teams, more than one team on his first stop. Maybe he was a little bit emotional. He should have spent time with more than one team before inking a deal with San Francisco.
No, I believe he made the right decision. He went where his heart was. Sometimes your heart is in your pocket, and your pocket is where your money is, and both of those two things are the same. Now, he's made a ton of money in Seattle. He already established himself as one of the best cornerbacks of his era. If he continues to play at a high level, he will no doubt go down as a first-ballot Hall of Famer. Oftentimes, you sit there and wait. What I was told as a free agent, if you wait too long, other guys will start to take that spot. Now, they might not go find a Richard Sherman, but they can collect a couple other young guys, young talented individuals, pay them collectively what they would pay Richard. So Richard goes out, essentially gets the money, even though it's incentive-based. So I feel like he made the right decision. If you wait too long, sometimes it's the wrong way.
There's waiting too long with them. There's doing a deal with in less than 24 hours and only having $3 million guaranteed. When I look at any of these deals in the NFL, I only look at the guaranteed
I was
money.
always told when gambling, think long, think wrong. So if you think too long, it might be the wrong decision.
Interesting. I think in an ideal world, there was a red carpet being rolled out in 32 cities, and Richard Sherman was going to be wined and dined and all this thing. Look, he got there in the room, and there's deadlines, and it's, hey, let's get this thing done, because it is a game of musical chairs, and the Niners know it best. The Niners went heavily for Marcus Peters and didn't get him. They went heavily for Aqib Talib. They had a trade in place. Talib said, I don't want to go there. I want to go to play for Wade Phillips. So the Niners are kind of this team that wanted him. Yeah. I can tell you that the offer that the Niners presented, he did make call to Seattle. He had a first right of refusal. Hey, Seattle, do you guys want? Seattle was out. Like, I don't know what he could have done otherwise. So ideal world, yes, you'd like to meet with other teams, like to sleep on it, but that chair gets filled very quickly, and that carousel goes around. If you walk out of that room, the deal might not be there in the morning. So I think ideal world, yeah, of course you want to meet with other teams, but I think he had to. He almost felt the pressure. He had to do it there.
It sounds like, given that he called other teams, he got the best deal at his first stop.
It's true. And I think in a vacuum, yeah, absolutely, he should have met with other teams. He should have used an agent. He should have done all those things. But Richard Sherman is one of the most unique people in all of sports. And I don't want to go to Chicago. I don't want to go to Jacksonville. I don't want to go someplace. I know exactly where I want to be. And you know why I'm going there? Because I can. Because I have a lot of money and I have a lot of fame already, and I want to go to the Bay Area. Does Richard Sherman strike you as someone who's going to be broke later in life or is not going to have a path later in life? Not at all. He wants to stay in the Bay Area, so he chose what he wanted and he got it. I respect it.
I think the big criticism of the contract amongst both the agent community, and I've heard from a lot of them, and the writers in the media, is that it sets a bad precedent for the NFLPA, right? So this contract, it might not be the best for every player. And if they say, hey, wait, now every player thinks I can do my own contract. Some guys aren't as
intellectual. It plays out. It might be cautionary.
We made it sexy, like he's betting on himself. That's amazing.
And then maybe a guy who's maybe not as equipped to get in that room goes in there without an agent and just gets blindsided by a team and signs a horrible deal and says, well, is that such a great thing? The other thing is, as a union, you want your best players to have the best contracts possible. Even agents have lawyers, right? So they're saying that. But Sherman was like, I'm not worried. I'm worried about me. Like, I'm not trying. I'm going to get my thing done, and that's where he wanted to be.
Listen, whether you have an agent or you go in there representing yourself, you enter at your own risk, period. I don't care if you're representing. We've seen agents get their clients stuck in some dumb deals.
Sure.
And we don't sit there and say, you know what, that sets a bad precedent. Finally, a guy says, I'm going to step up later in my career where my agent has already made money off me, negotiate a deal where I bet on myself, and let's see what happens. I commend him on that because a lot of guys won't be bold enough. A lot of people won't go into a regular job without representation or leaning on somebody else's knowledge.
I don't order dinner without asking my wife what I should get. But Sherman does. But go on, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, but do you think all athletes should do that? Do you think all NFL players should be as emboldened as he is?
All athletes.
The precedent thing makes sense to me.
All athletes don't have the resume, and to be honest, all athletes are intellectually sound enough to go in there and do that. So you can't say all athletes should do it, but I say more guys will do it at this point, especially later in your career where you know who you are. He's so comfortable with himself. He's like, I don't care about what an agent is going to tell me what I deserve. I know what I want. Just like you said, he knows what he wants.
I've heard from the Niners side of it that Sherman in these negotiations said, well, Nnamdi Asomugha signed a deal back in 2012. Like, he had it down cold. He knew every client and every top corner.
He did his homework.
He did his homework.
I think that's what it's more about, too. It's not about intellect. like it's about, like, I'm sure he went in there so prepared, right? That, like, who knows how prepared everybody else is to walk into a room like that.
And I think there's cool points for doing it. It seems like a cool thing to do. It's just like you're a rogue, and it's also you don't have to pay your agent's commission.
We sexed it up for sure.
Sure, but I would be very careful trying to do that. First of all, it could blow up in his face. It could go disastrous. You could not get any of those incentives. You could regret it. So I would be very careful trying to follow in his footsteps.
And let's also keep in mind, how much do you think he was going to get on the free agent market with a team willing to guarantee him coming off an injury?
With 2 Achilles injuries.
Yeah,
I thought he was going to be.
This is a great deal.
I thought he was going to Darrell Revis it. I'm not kidding. I thought beyond the street. What was Revis out there till like November?
Wow.
I figured a team's going to wait. You mentioned Oakland maybe because Cali guy. There were a lot of connections there. It made a lot of sense. They need help on defense. In my head, I'm thinking, no way is Oakland signing him quickly because teams are going to want to see a 30-year-old cornerback, even if it is Richard Sherman, the best of his generation. See how he looks, healing from that. That didn't happen. I think it's a great deal. Either way, whether he negotiated it or whatever, I think it's a great deal that he got it done quickly.